everybody, it's NW Rago here, games, movies, and vlogs. How the hell is everybody this week? And welcome to episode 3 of Tremors Effects. And this time, man, do I have a crazy-ass movie for you guys this week. Anybody ever notice when you're watching a series of movies and everything is, like, going okay, then all of a sudden everything just goes nuts? Well, the movie that I have for you this week definitely does that. Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. Now, we're at the point in the franchise already where Tremors goes apeshit. And I mean apeshit. Literally, this movie just overloads on the monster action. Seriously, I had a blast watching this, truthfully. And this movie's from 2001, released direct-to-video. And, I mean, you can just tell by the DVD cover here, Michael Gross has now officially become the face of the franchise. Like, this is when Bert Gummer really became Bert Gummer. This is when, well, yeah. But seriously, just watching this, there is a shitload to talk about with this movie. And when I mean the franchise goes apeshit, I mean the franchise goes completely apeshit. Like, seriously, the monster action is aplenty with this movie. I mean, from the very start of the movie, there's monster action. Throughout the lot of this movie, there's monster action. To right before the end credits, there's monster action. So, let me just talk about all that. Well, one thing I do have to say, though, is that now Tremors is officially using CG. The lot of it is. This movie was, half of it was CG, and the other half of it was animatronics. And I love it when Tremors uses puppets, because, you know, it's Tremors. That's what it's known for, is its use of animatronics. So I'm happy that they used puppets. There's a lot of puppet work in this movie. There is a shitload. And the CG, I mean, it's a little bit more than Aftershocks, but it's still not as much as the puppets. Now, this is at the very start of the movie, where Bert shoots. Bert is in Argentina, where there's a Graboid sighted in this place called El Chaco. I don't know if that's even a real area in Argentina, to be honest. But anyways, Tremors is the monster movie franchise where it's like, you just take it for what it is and enjoy it. It's like you can't question Tremors, in all honesty. So anyways, the CGI here for the Shriekers, it's like the Graboid became Shriekers, and then the Shriekers multiplied after eating a bunch of livestock, and particularly poultry, or chickens, and then there's this whole herd of these things just rampaging across the countryside, and Bert Gummer's called in to destroy them, and the CGI for him, it's straight to DVD CGI, so yeah, the CG's pretty obvious. But there's one shot during this whole Shrieker massacre where they do have a Shrieker puppet. It's like in one shot, but you can tell it was a puppet. And this weapon that Bert Gummer's shooting, this is actually a real-life anti-aircraft turret that the makers of this movie borrowed from a weapons museum, and they let Michael Gross test fire it. So this weapon was actually real. The heavy firepower, well, it's an anti-aircraft turret, so yeah. I mean, it was awesome that they let Michael Gross use that. And then here is an interesting thing about Tremors now is the monsters actually have an identity. Here is a Graboid. As you can tell by its skin, it's an albino, which is interesting, and they said it's sterile, so it can't become Shriekers. No, that's an odd little genetic alteration with these with the Graboids here, and it's just so funny. Like, they named it El Blanco, which quite literally translated means the white, or the white one. Like, wow, okay, very interesting name. And this Graboid, its behavior is very odd. As you can tell by the screenshot, it was CG, and it's got textures all over it and everything, but CGI was still obvious. But like I said, it was straight to video in early 2000s CG, so yeah, it's gonna be obvious. You know, it could have been improved a little bit, but you just take it for how it is, really, and enjoy it. And it was just so interesting, what I was talking about, the behavior of this particular Graboid. It rears up out of the dirt, and then it just goes back down. It doesn't really attack anybody. I mean, it doesn't try to attack Bert. I mean, it did try to attack him a little bit, but this Graboid, its behavior is very odd. Like, they really wanted to make this Graboid like an actual character in the movie. Like, have it really be its own specific individual. And I love that they did that with these monsters instead of making them just mindless killers. And oh my god, this scene. Look at Bert's face! Oh god! Oh my god, I never noticed this until now. Look at his face. He is genuinely freaked out. That's the face of, holy shit, what just happened to me? This is one of the highlights of this movie. Bert Gummer gets eaten by a Graboid. What do you call? Bert Gummer gets ate. This was not El Blanco. This is not El Blanco. That was chainsawed. That was hit by a concrete barrier around Bert Gummer's house. Killed by it hitting concrete, and then chainsawed open. But yeah, Bert Gummer gets eaten. He gets eaten about halfway through the movie, and it was just, it's such... You're watching that whole scene and you're like, no, not Bert! And then come to find out, he was still alive for a little bit, and he tells the character way off to the left there on Desert Jack to engage the Graboid and lead the thing to his house where he can kill it. And he pulls Bert out of this thing, and Bert is just traumatized by this experience. Oh my god. It's that one scene where you're like, oh my god, what just happened? But look at his face! Look at him! Oh my god, now that I like see the screenshot, just Bert's face is just, holy shit! I know I'm not here to talk about characters, but damn! I'm sorry. That whole scene was just, ay ay ay. The way it plays out is just, wait, what? It's funny and cool at the same time. Now, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that was just way too funny. Now, the one thing though, that if you noticed about the Bert screenshot, and other screenshots of the Graboids from my reviews of the previous two movies, is that the Graboids have scales on their bodies, on their dorsal surfaces, and this is the movie that says that Graboids are desert reptilians. So basically, I mean, they may look like giant worms, but wouldn't they be snakes since they're reptiles? Like reptilian worms, I've never even heard of that. And here you go, like Aftershocks, Tremors 3 offers yet another evolution to these monsters. And here we have, again, another funny moment. I know Tremors 3, like I said, Tremors 3 it made the franchise just go completely apeshit, and it's very serious in tone. Like, yeah, there's like a couple of funny scenes here and there, but there's only like two. One of them, Bert getting eaten by the Graboid and then coming out. And then the naming of this new particular mutation here. This monster is, you know how snakes, when they grow larger, they shed their skin? Well, apparently shriekers can do the same thing, and they turn into these things. I shit you not. I'll explain why after I say this thing's name. The name of this monster literally is called Ass Blaster. No joke. It's literally called the Ass Blaster. The reason why is that in its stomach, there's volatile chemicals that ignite, and what makes it take off is they shoot flames out of their ass, and that makes them take off. Hence the name Ass Blaster. It's literally, oh my god, they basically light a big one to take off. Except the chemicals that react in their body ignite in flames and make it glide. They glide. They don't fly, they glide in the air. And the way you can tell is that if this thing had flight, it's up in the air and, you know, flying around and stuff, but it glides through the air. If this thing flew through the air, those fins on the sides of its body would be flapping, not just staying in place. That's the difference. But despite the name, these monsters are actually very vicious. They antagonize the human characters the entire time, and yeah, they had a lot of puppets for these. The screenshot before that, they use the puppets a lot for the Ass Blasters, and they do use CG. Like, you can tell that this particular screenshot right here, that the Ass Blaster scene here was CG. And once again, well, not once again, but on behind the scenes of this, they said that the textures, for referencing on the skin textures to try to make it look realistic, they used the textures that were on the puppets, and they tried to do basically like a digital double of the puppets, and used that for all the scenes that you can't really do with the puppets. So that's very interesting. And the one thing I gotta say, one other thing about them is that they have the same like heat sensors like the Shriekers do. So that's just very interesting. And also, one last thing about the Ass Blasters, that they carry eggs, Graboid eggs. So it's like it goes from a Graboid to a Shrieker to an Ass Blaster, and then the Ass Blaster lays eggs, and then new Graboids hatch out. So okay, that's so they pretty much explain like the whole life cycle of these monsters, which is really crazy. And the one thing about this is that the Ass Blast, I keep on saying one thing, whatever. Another interesting fact about the Ass Blasters is that they basically, if they eat enough, they don't multiply like Shriekers do. They pass out. Literally, as explained by the blonde woman on the left here in the screenshot, hiding in the box, which, by the way, those two women is Nancy and Mindy from the very first movie, which is amazing. You have Miguel, Nancy, and Mindy, and Melvin from the very first movie, so it's really cool that we got to see returning cast members, you know, and see them now in this movie, you know, as their characters have gotten older. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about that. The CGI for the Ass Blasters, like, yeah, it's like, see right here, you can tell, look, I mean, it has texturing on it and all, but if you look at its feet, you can tell it was CGI because it hardly has any shadow under it, like, and it's all in focus the whole time. So yeah, I mean, despite how the CGI looks, the Ass Blasters look really cool. They look very like Velociraptor-ish. They kind of remind me of the Velociraptors, and I don't know, there's just not much else I can say about these things. Like, CGI, yeah, it could have been better, but you gotta remember, this is in 2000, this came out in 2001, and CG was still technically a new thing. The first Dragonheart, anybody? Yeah. Yeah, there's not really much I can say, but these things is what makes the movie go apeshit, because they're everywhere. They attack the human characters like crazy. Once they show up, the movie does not let up on showing these things off. I mean, there is destruction everywhere with the ass blasters. That is such an odd name for a monster. It's so... Oh, and one thing, though, that this movie, once again, just like Tremors 1 and 2, is the gore when the monsters die. They have the intestines and guts just getting shot everywhere. It is disgusting when the monsters die. I mean, same thing with the Graboid. When Desert Jack cut the Graboid open that ate Bert, there were Graboid blood and guts flying everywhere when he was cutting it open with the chainsaw. And the ass blasters here, when they get blown up, man, they have guts and blood just splattering everywhere. But one thing, though, that I find so funny, though, about these monsters is that here in North America, these things, they'll just eat anything in sight, even if it's their own kind, because, I mean, the ass blaster technically can see because it has the heat sensor on top of its head, but the Graboids do not care, because El Blanco eats one of these things at the end of the movie. He comes up and he just shows up at the end after there's like one ass blaster left to deal with, and Bert Gummer determined that somehow the vibration from an ultrasonic frequency from a little fancy watch that he got was attracting El Blanco, I guess, like the noise or something. It's really odd, but it just eats this ass blaster and swallows it. And the best part is that they had a couple of shots where it was puppets, where it was a El Blanco puppet eating an ass blaster puppet, and you can see that thing's blood spurting all over the Graboid. So that was crazy that even there was like a short little monster versus monster moment. But in the end, El Blanco won and then just went back on the ground. And here in this screenshot, you got this one ass blaster just perching, looking for food. Like, seriously, they just have such an interesting design, but I just find it hilarious how every evolution of the monsters, their head design is basically the same. That's how you can tell, like, they're like in the same species or something like that, where it's like the top of the head is one whole piece, and then the bottom jaw is in 3 other pieces. But anyways, Tremors 3, please, if any Tremors fan is still willing to push through this franchise like I am after 2, and you want to watch a crazy-ass monster movie, Tremors 3, like I said, it never lets up on the monster action, which, I'll say it once, I'll say it again, the amount of heavy monster action in this movie makes Tremors 3 just go complete apeshit when it comes to sequels. I mean, this movie was a blast. It's a fun-ass movie. The ass blasters are great. The fact that we only see the Shriekers in, like, at the beginning of the movie, and then they're only, like, implied through a few satellite images and sound effects. You don't ever see them again after you don't physically see the Shriekers again. When the ass blasters before the ass blasters show up. So it's interesting, that little bit is just really odd, but it's cool that we get to see like all 3 monsters in this movie. So yeah, I give Tremors 3, I don't think I gave 2 a score. I don't remember if I did or not, to be perfectly honest, but Tremors 3, I mean, the CG, yeah, could have been you know what? I'm not repeating that again. I mean, I've already said it. It's straight to video or direct to video, and it was the early 2000s. But I give this movie a solid 10 out of 10 because this movie was just awesome. It's an hour and 30 some odd minutes of movie going apeshit, of Tremors going complete apeshit. Alright? So, I hope you all enjoyed that, and I hope you Tremors fans out there are still pushing through the franchise like myself. So please like and share not only this channel, but the Movie Reviews Library. Follow me on Instagram at LizardMan2021. Links to both will be in the description below, and also email me at zillagare@gmail.com for video requests. Alright, peace out everybody, and see you in the next episode.